Well, hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe, and today we're going to be taking an updated look at the roster for our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints, heading into preseason game 2 versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll be pulling up the full roster, offense and defense, and talking about all the changes that we've made, and we've made a ton of them this week. So let's pull the offense up first. And here we go. We have released quarterback Hunter Deckers again. Hunter Deckers is gone. So we have three quarterbacks in the room, Shuck, Rattler, and Hayner. The big question is who's going to be the starter for the regular season. Shuck and Rattler are pretty much neck and neck right now. And we'll see how the preseason finishes out. My belief is that Shuck's going to be named the starter. No preference here. I haven't seen enough from either one of them yet to make my own determination. I just feel like being the 40th overall pick, Shuck's going to be the guy. So let's see what the rest of the preseason has in store. At running back, we have Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Velus Jones Jr. I think those are the four in the lead right now. Edwards-Helaire is a good veteran and is exceptional at pass protection, which is something I think this coaching staff's going to require out of their backup running backs. Kendre Miller missed a lot of off-season time during his career so far because of injuries, and he's missed a lot of playing time, but maybe Miller's catching on. His blocking was okay in the first game against the Chargers, so if Miller can be effective in the passing game, I think he's clearly the number two. He's showing strides right now. Edwards-Helaire is a guy that's kind of like a safety valve. And then Velus Jones Jr. can do a lot of stuff, including receiving and in the return game. So I think Jones has an edge here that he may end up being a fourth running back on this team and staying on the roster. The rest of the running backs are Cam Akers, who's a veteran, and if he takes if he wins a spot here at the end of the preseason, he'll probably take Edwards-Helaire's place. But yeah, I'm looking at Jones as sticking on this roster. Devin Neal is a guy I thought certainly had a roster spot carved out for him, but he's been injured and probably isn't going to participate in preseason. Maybe he'll be back for the third game, but that sucks because Devin Neal has a lot of ability. It still wouldn't surprise me if we kept Neal on the active 53-man roster at the end of preseason because he is quite a talent. And then Marcus Yarns, who's a perfect practice squad candidate. At wide receiver, we've made a move. We had to put Bub Means on IR, and we have signed a wide receiver named Daniels, Roderick Daniels. I think he's only 5'9", so we didn't sign a guy with size, but he's got some spring league experience. So we'll see what Daniels can bring to the mix. The wide receivers, in my opinion, I don't think we have a good top three. I don't think we have a good bottom three. A lot of potential here, but nobody's being really consistent. Right now through training camp, Mason Tipton is the guy being consistent. Dante Pettis brings a lot of special teams ability. And Cedric Wilson is the great run blocker with decent size. Kevin Austin Jr., Donovan Peoples-Jones, Moochie Dixon, and this new signee, Daniels, is going to have to do something special to crack the top five. Olave Rashid and Cooks are your top three, and I think Cedric Wilson's going to make this team. So Mason Tipton looks like he's the front runner to be number five, and if we keep a sixth guy, I'm leaning towards Dante Pettis right now, Kevin Austin Jr., Donovan Peoples-Jones. You guys got to do something in preseason. At tight end, we've made another move. We cut Seth Green and signed a guy named Pline, and then Pline gets hurt in the first preseason game. He wasn't even with the team a week. So we put Pline on IR and just re-signed Seth Green again. So right back to where we started from. Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill don't look like they're going to be available anytime soon. So we're running out there with Juwan Johnson, hoping he stays healthy, and then your backups are Jack Stahl, Trayton Welsh, Michael Jacobson, Malike Mataval, and the aforementioned Seth Green. Right now, Stoll and Welch are leading the way to be that number two and that number three tight end, which is so scary. I thought Morrow might get back before the season started, but we have no definitive answer. It looks like if we carry four tight ends after Jawan Johnson, it's just take your pick of which practice squad caliber player you want on the roster. And that's scary to have your number two, number three tight end and a number four tight end if we go that route, all being practice squad type guys. Jack Stoll has a place because he's a run blocker, and he'll make up for the lack of a fullback. So Stoll's going to be on the team. And Trayton Welsh is the only one out of the rest of the bunch that's been consistent in training camp and in the games. Michael Jacobson's shown some things in training camp. He hadn't shown anything in the games yet for preseason. Tackle. We have an issue because we don't have decent depth. Calvin Banks Jr., Talia Sefuanga are great starters. Landon Young is just coming back from an injury. He may get to play in the preseason this weekend, but we're probably going to play Young at guard because we're trying out who's going to be flexible. Now, because of the serious lack of depth at tackle, it would be nice to see Landon Young play left tackle and right tackle in this upcoming preseason game. We got to figure out what we're going to do there. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Young relegated to guard for the preseason game. Easton Kilty and Wesley and Israel and Mendoza round out the tackles. Mendoza just got put on the team last week and he played in the first preseason game. He was okay. Wesley was at the left tackle. He was okay. Ezrium has a long way to go before he'll be a good tackle, and I think we were highlighting Kilty at guard in this past preseason game. Like I said before in a past video, we're going to be highlighting players out of position on the offensive line just to see who we're going to keep because we need some serious depth everywhere. Yeah, but the depth at tackles scares me for this team. At guard, Trevor Penning's dealing with what is assumed to be turf toe. He had that injury his rookie year, and he missed 12 games, pretty much 12 games because of it. They're saying this one's not too severe. He should be out at least 3 or 4 weeks. The regular season starts in 4 weeks, so don't know if Penning is going to be ready at guard. If he isn't, then our starter will probably be Dylan Reduns, who struggled at tackle in the first preseason game. He struggles at guard too. When we signed him as a free agent, assuming he was going to be our starting left guard, that was before we drafted Kelvin Banks at tackle and then moved Penning to guard. We signed free agent Dylan Reduns, expecting him to be our starting left guard, and I said that didn't make me happy because Tennessee, he comes from the Titans and they didn't have a very good offensive line. And a lot of people were personally pointing at Redunds and saying he's not capable of playing guard in this league. So he looked really bad at tackles. So I hope he looks a little better at guard because we might be without Penning for a while. And at the other guard position, Cesar Ruiz, I'm not stoked about him, never have been. We're paying him too much. He's just an average guard. You could probably get the same output out of a uh, minimum rated free agent castaway like Lucas or something like that, Patrick. So yeah, I think Shane Lemieux is as good of a guard as Dylan Reduns as far as I'm concerned right now. We have Shane Lemieux on the team. We also have Torricelli Simpkins and Kyle Hergel. And we played Simpkins at center for the entire preseason game last week, and he looked really good. I think in a regular season game scenario, Lemieux would probably play center and Simpkins would play guard. I'd be interested to see if Simpkins could beat out Dylan Reduns for a guard spot. Now, Simpkins has been playing center and right guard. I don't know if he could make the transition to left guard. Maybe we'll see some of that before the preseason is over with. But yeah, I'm worried about depth at guard as well. Now, if Reduns can perform at guard better than he did at tackle, maybe we have a decent stopgap. I still think Shane Lemieux has some ability. And yeah, Torricelli Simpkins looked, in my opinion, looked great at center, and I think he would look pretty good at guard too. So Simpkins is probably a guy we're going to depend on this year. At center, we have Eric McCoy, and then we had to put Will Clapp on IR. So Will Clapp's no longer on the team. Who's going to be our backup center? We just signed a guy named Mike Panacea, and he was an acclaimed offensive lineman out of the spring leagues, XFL, UFL, whatever you want to call it. He was on the first team for the 2 years he was there. He did have some stints on practice squads with NFL teams before he joined the spring league. But I think he was trying out at defensive lineman when he was with the Panthers and then another team. But anyway, he looks to be a pretty decent center. So we have him on the roster now. And of course, with Simpkins looking so good at center in the last preseason game, Simpkins could be a backup center, potential. Cesar Ruiz played center in college. He's also a potential backup. And of course, Shane Lemieux, if he can stick on the team, started a few games at center last year for us. So maybe we can work something out in the interior. It'd be really nice to get Penning back. He needs all the work at guard that he can get. If we're expecting on Penning to start, he needs to start practicing against other competition at that spot. It sucks he's going to be out for several weeks. Here's to Dylan Reduns. Hopefully you're a better guard than you are a tackle. And hopefully Simpkins can look as good at guard as he did at center in this past game. And we'll see what the future holds for Lemieux and Hergel, who are both guard center types. All right, that is the offense for our beloved Saints going into the second preseason game. Let's take a look at the defense as it stands with all the roster moves we've made this week so far. There is our defense. We've got defensive ends Brian Bresee, Nathan Shepard, Vernon Broughton, Jonathan Bullard. We got Jonah Williams, who has played in this defense under this coach before and can highlight as an edge rusher as well. Then we got Thomas, who's at the bottom of this depth chart. Now, we signed a defensive end today. I have this guy listed as an outside linebacker. His name is Jeremiah, I think, Martin. And yeah, he's roughly the same size as Isaiah Foskey. And when we signed Martin today, that was kind of the inclination with a lot of the reporting that this was probably going to mark the end of Foskey's tenure with us. Maybe we release Powell, who's at the bottom of the depth chart at the outside linebacker spot. Maybe we release him. But I think Powell and Foskey are on their way out. Martin is the same type as Foskey, body wise. So if you want to put Martin at defensive end, you can. But I've got him here at edge rusher. To finish off the defensive line, we're going to talk about the defensive tackles. Devin Godchall, who didn't play last week and who's going to make a difference in this run defense, is our top nose tackle. Colin Saunders is going to highlight there and probably a little at end. Christian Boyd played the majority of nose tackle in the first preseason game, and he had his moments, though the run defense wasn't all that from anyone on the defensive line in this first game. Jonathan Ridgway is there as well. And we have the newly signed Peavy. Jaden Peavy is a massive dude, 6'5". He's listed at 306. He looks a lot bigger than that. At 306 pounds, he can definitely highlight at defensive end as well. But I think Peavy started getting his work with the Saints right away at that nose. So we're going to see if Peavy sticks at defensive tackle or if he highlights all over the place. Bringing in PV makes me think we're not satisfied with Ridgeway, perhaps with Saunders. All right, let's talk about the edge rushers slash outside linebackers. Chase Young, Carl Granderson, Cameron Jordan. They didn't get any playing time in the preseason game. It was up to Chris Rump and Fadil Diggs to do all the work. Josheen Davis was injured and didn't play, I've found out. Isaiah Foskey played the entire game and only recorded an assisted tackle. I said he had no stats, or he had no stats. No, he had an assisted tackle, and he had another stat, two of them, two missed tackles. So yeah, Isaiah Foskey needs to be on his way out, and I think that's the reason why the defensive end Martin was brought in. Middle linebacker Demario Davis, Pete Werner didn't play in the first game. Danny Stutzman started alongside Nefi Sewell, and then DeMarco Jackson got a lot of work, and then those three left, and Ford and Stahlberg finished the game, and all of them looked very good. I'm very impressed with our middle linebacker crew. I think we've got serious depth and serious potential. A lot of youth who look good now and can get even better. It's going to be a numbers game to figure out who's going to stay on this team when it comes to those middle linebackers. Right now, I've got four of them: Davis, Werner, Stutzman, and Sewell. But man, it's hard to let a guy like Stahlberg or Ford go. Stahlberg was outstanding on special teams in the first preseason game and looked so good as a linebacker. He's got a safety body type, so he's pretty versatile, I think, overall. And yeah, and Jalen Ford was a rookie last year and was injured, so he's just developing, just getting enough off-season time to show something, and he's looking really good. DeMarco Jackson's always been a good special teamer, as is Nefi Sewell, and both of them were active on the field at linebacker in this first preseason game. At cornerback, it's upsetting, but Alontae Taylor has a hurt groin. We might not see him for the rest of the preseason. I hope he's ready to go for the regular season because the nickelback in this defense, which they want to call star, or, I think they're just blowing hot air up the nickelback players' rear and saying that, yeah, you're more important than most people think nickels are. Well, I think nickels very important. As a matter of fact, I think it's a dynamic position and requires a decent salary to get a good one. So pay the man. Taylor's a good player. We're going to miss him the rest of the preseason. Who's going to take his place at that all important nickel slash star spot? It's probably going to be Ugo Amadi and Terrell Burgess. They are number two and number three up for the nickel spot, and both of those are listed here as a safety. So I don't know if both Amadi and Burgess make this team. Amadi, in my opinion, is clearly better. But at outside cornerback without Alontae Taylor playing that nickel star or outside corner, we're going to have to go in with Kool-Aid McKinstry and Isaac Yiadom. And Yiadom looked very good in the first preseason game. I think Yiadom's a very good cornerback. I think when we worry about Yiadom being a full-time starter, I think we're worried about too much. I think Yiadom is way better than your average cornerback. And Quincy Riley is way better than your average fourth round drafted rookie cornerback. Riley's looking very good. So I don't worry too much about cornerback. As a matter of fact, Rajon Wright and Rico Payton being undrafted guys, and they've been on this team for 2 years now because they keep making plays whenever they get the chance to. So if you're worried about the depth at cornerback because Wright and Payton and Price are all undrafted guys, well, just think about how well Wright and Payton are playing. I mean, I think they're playing just fine. Could we win a game going out there with Wright and Peyton as our starting cornerbacks? I gotta honestly tell you, I don't know. Maybe. We've never seen it. We only see it in preseason, and they're shutting everybody down. So, in my opinion, we're six deep at cornerback. Price is shown to be a decent special teamer, and Beanham rounds out your cornerbacks there. Your starters are Justin Reed and Julian Blackman. I think Blackman got a couple of snaps in the first preseason game, but it was pretty much relegated to Howden and Sanker and Amadi and Burgess, and they all did well. Sanker did very well. Howden did well. Amadi did very good. PFF graded him as over 82. So, according to them, he was the highest rated player on the team. And we still got JT Gray, who's an awesome special teamer. And even Davison, the last player on the safety depth chart here, had plays in the first preseason game. So I'm excited about the depth at DB for this team. Zach Wood is still our long snapper. Blake Grupe's got the kicking game won. Charlie Smith is a roster exempt, so he's going to stay on the team for at least another year. Smith kicked a 50-yarder in this past preseason game. It probably would have been good from 70. And in the punters are Burnip and Kroger. Kroger looked better than Burnip in the first preseason game. I think both of them just appear to be average punters right now. And we'll see what happens and how this will work out. We just finished the practice against the Rams, and now we're going to travel back to New Orleans for our second preseason game against the Jaguars. So the practice against the Rams was basic, average, nothing spectacular coming from the quarterbacks. I think Rattler threw a 50-yard touchdown to Rashid Shaheed. But both quarterbacks struggled in the red zone, and on defense, we looked pretty good. The Rams didn't have Stafford at the practice, so we were going up against starter uh what's his name? Jimmy Garoppolo. So yeah, apparently our defense looked pretty good. So offensive line seemed to struggle in this scrimmage against the Rams. I think we're just toying around with the offensive line right now, trying to figure out who's going to play where, who can play where. And yeah, I don't expect to see the offensive line solidified until everybody's healthy and we're in the regular season and we're actually game planning and putting all of this to good use. So there you go. That's the updated roster. If we have any more moves this weekend, I will adjust as needed, and I try to give you an updated roster every week. So subscribe to my channel, Rosenfield 10, so you can get these roster breakdowns. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?